is our assembly department. On the other side of that is our shipping.
And everything is made in this production
Yes,
line?
everything is assembled in here. Pretty much, we had the red line several years ago, but we've gone away from the red line, and now we're fully, anything with the Benchmade logo is produced entirely here in Oregon City.
And nothing is like farmed out, like I was at the factory store, I just picked up, I've been lording over one of these for a long time, the 53.
Ooh, yes.
Because it's such a different take on the Balisong that I'm not accustomed to.
Yeah, I only just recently picked one of these up myself. I'm a big fan of the Balis.
Yeah. Who isn't? Like, come on, your logo is a butterfly.
I know. I mean, really, it's like the perfect folder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it comes with its own sheath.
Exactly.
It encapsulates the blades. It's one of the strongest locking designs there is.
The only thing...
One hand open and closed, no matter how you draw it. I mean,
that's the only issue I have with the 62s. When I found out they came out and I had the 42, I'm like, great, I can get another one or the trainer, and I found out, no spring latch? Come on. I understand that the sandwich, design makes things a little bit easier to manufacture, but come on, the spring latch is like the iconic key component.
I know. We may just have to come out with a variation on that.
I know I'm not the only guy that's like, oh, come on, you're so close.
I mean, we've gotten, part of that was, and we've gotten a lot of flack for this too, because, now it's kind of funny because when we introduced the 42, everybody said, titanium handles are too light, you can't flip it. That's crazy. Nobody had seen production titanium handles. Everybody was making stainless steel handles. And so, I mean, everybody was in an uproar. You can't flip that. It's too light. It's great. But then, with that, we kind of bred this whole other generation of Bali users, and now all these kids are just doing these ridiculous tricks, and that's all they know. Is those lightweight Balis. And so, we decided after we discontinued the 42, we kind of let it die down for a little bit, and said, we need to come back with something to replace the 42, another skeletonized. And so we thought, let's go back to old school. Let's take it back to stainless steel. Let's do it. A traditional T-latch. Let's just take it back and see, and so part of the reason for not adding the spring latch at the time was to bring in the blade to handle ratio.
Okay. So when I compared them side by side, I realized, wow, that's a lot shorter than I expected.
And all of that extra length in the 42 was really added to accommodate the spring latch. In fact, if you look at an original 42 before the spring latch was introduced, next to the spring latch variant, it's about a 1/4 inch or more longer with the spring latch. So all of that added length was just to incorporate the spring latch. You have to add the pin and have the distance for the spring itself and provide clearance for the blade tip. And so to minimize the weight impact with the stainless steel and bring in the handle to weight to blade ratio, we decided we opted not to put the spring latch into the 62. But the great thing about that design, as opposed to I'm just gonna stick in my pocket, as opposed to the 42s, which were cast handles. Now we have.
Oh, the 42s were cast?
The 42s were cast.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought you just took like a block of titanium and just milled it out.
No, they were cast titanium handles, and so that's where we didn't have the flexibility to incorporate other materials and change up the designs, because the tooling costs for casting, are ridiculous. You're looking at $15,000 to $20,000 for tooling.
Yeah.
For products. So, and if just to change from titanium to stainless, that requires different tooling, separate tooling. Yeah. And so, aside from some quality and finishing out components of that, cast as opposed to machined billet, it's more porous, it's not as strong.
Yeah.
Dimensionally, it's not as tight. So that's where the decision was to go to the machined handles on the 62. Gives us, much. You'll notice that the 62 is much more solid. The action is much tighter on the 62 as opposed to the 42, and that's why, because we've they're fully machined billet handles as opposed to the cast ones in the past.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, because to me, like, wow, the 42s are so solid, but then when I was playing around with the trainer 62 down in the factory store, I'm like, wow, that's really tight.
Yeah, and so that's why, a lot of people will ask that question. Well, it's more expensive now, but you went from, titanium to stainless steel. Well, the cost, to mass produce
I'm sure it's inherent
cast
in the production.
handles is actually a little bit lower than, full machining of a billet handle. And we're able to hold much tighter tolerances on the components themselves because they're all fully machined. And so you'll notice a lot of improvement in the action, the fit and finish, as opposed to the cast handles is a bit superior.
Yeah.
And so that's why.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So did you work on the gold class Bally 42?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've been involved in gold class since it was created. That was in 05, I believe, was when we introduced the gold class as a separate line. The first knife being the 180 DM was the first gold class introduction, and I worked on that one. There was a brief period in time where I was working throughout manufacturing. I've kind of worked in every area of manufacturing in my time here. I've been with the company for 15 years.
Wow.
So I started out in assembly, and then I became a supervisor in assembly for a period of time. And then when they decided to create the gold class, I kind of had a reputation for customizing my own knives. And it's just something that I got the bug for once I started, working for him. I came here as a Benchmade fan.
Yeah.
And I got to that point where I had to decide between eating and buying more knives, and it's like, Benchmade's hiring? They're just down the street. I'm on it, and so I put in an application as soon as I found out that they were right here in Oregon City, because I was just living up the street. I have to work there. But I actually took a pay cut and turned down a promotion where I was at just to work at Benchmade. I just had to be a part of Benchmade, and so. Because of that reputation I had for customizing, I got pulled into the gold class early when it was being developed, and so I did a lot of the finishing and detail work on the gold class knives early on. There was a period in time where they kind of stepped away from gold class for a while, and I spent some time in manufacturing, about a year, working through all of manufacturing, and there's an internship program that I was a part of. So I was taking a lot of online courses in machining and doing hands-on work, and then I spent some time as a supervisor in manufacturing as well. And then they decided they wanted to put another, renew their focus on gold class as a product line, and pulled me back in to put that together again. And so that's what I've been doing since.
I was doing a little Googling, and I didn't realize I'm from Burbank, California.
Where are you?
Yeah, and I saw on Wikipedia that said that the original plastic cutlery knives were sent down to Jody Samson at Sword in the Stone, the guy who made all the theatrical swords.
Jody Samson ground all of the early custom ballets.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how fortunate I was, because my dad and I would just go down to his shop. He has weird hours.
Really?
It's always locked. But if you know the secret way around, and you can go to the back workshops, here's my kitchen knives. Could you sharpen that for me? And that was the norm for me.
Really?
Yeah, he sharpened our kitchen
knives.
knives.
That's fantastic. I never had the opportunity to meet the man.
Yeah.
But that's a great story. That's amazing.
And I would always tell my friends, next to this Toys R Us, there's this little hole in the wall, shitty place. And you look inside, there's all these dusty swords, but then you start picking out gems, holy crap. That's the Conan Barbarian sword, or that's the sword from My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my
Yes,
father. Prepare to die.
Princess Bride.
Yes, Princess Bride. He
Yes.
made that sword. And I'm just geeking out because, my friends and I go to Comic-Con all the time, and we're like, dude, the guy made the sword. He made that sword.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is such a great story.
Yeah. But I had no idea he had the connection between Benchmade.
Yes, yeah. Isn't that great?
Yeah. And I don't know if you knew, but the last time I was there was like right around the time when Pirates of the Caribbean like 2 or 3 was out. I went back, had a knife sharpened, and I'm like, wait, that's a Pirates of the Caribbean sword on the table there. He's like, oh yeah, we're making the swords for them. Really? He's like, yeah, Disney wanted us to make all the swords for the rides to update all the animatronics with swords that look like from the movie. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's so cool.